We are live.
A very good evening and a very warm welcome to all the viewers of this podcast. My humble regards and great respect for Foxy President, respected Dr. Sunita Tandulwadkar, Madam, and a very warm welcome to today's guest of honor and speaker, Madam Sonal Fouquet. This is the Star Gyan Pravah podcast. And today is the episode number 231 of this magnanimous series that is run so successfully under the leadership of magnanimous President Dr. Sunita Tandulwadkar. As we all know, she is the President Foxy and President-elect ISAT for next 2 years. And most important, I would like to share with you all that recently she has been conferred upon with the highest academic excellence award by Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, that is FRCOG. FRCOG is significant is mainly given for her for a significant contribution in OBGYN work, in research and community work, and for academic excellence. So many congratulations to you, madam, for this great award. It's the highest academic award that has been conferred upon, madam. And as we all know, we have seen this huge, tremendous work. We have been following her this year, and this year really has been a year of transformation and such rapid growth. Maybe the transformation in her community work, she has undertaken the projects, maybe research, maybe publications, and this is a year, we can say that it's a year of a rapid growth, and I am continuously learning from you, madam. More important, something I would like to share that is very less known about her philanthropic work also, that goes mostly unsaid and not talked about, but she is contributing a lot to the social causes, and she's a woman of commitment, I would like to say. So come whatever situations, once she has committed to something, she abides by that, and there are so many things to learn from you, madam, and I'm truly
Thank you
honored
so much,
to having
Rashmi.
her.
Today is your day with Sonal and not about me. I'm so glad and I'm thankful to your kind words. But I think this podcast belongs to you and Sonal. So let's philanthropic work is supposed to be done silently.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. So, thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. And thank you, Rashmi. You are, Sonal, these podcast series are 8 p.m. sharp every night for last 230 days. And we are going to complete 365. First, initially, we thought it is for my chairperson, who are the future leaders of Foxy. I will build up their leadership quality, the way they will be talking, and they get a complete 1 hour dedicated platform of their own without any Foxy leadership coming in between. So it will boost their confidence. But believe me, I'm meeting every day those faculty, and I felt I have evolved more than anyone else by listening to this podcast. There is so much more the world is doing, and probably we get engaged in our OBGYN field so much that we forget to see around. And this podcast will be such a beautiful way the discussion happen. 30 days, 30 committee chairperson. So today is 18th, every month on 18th. Rashmi ensure that she's not anywhere and she's doing her live podcast. They can't go for dinner or anything out on that day. And they are so lovingly following this because they're also enjoying. So, Sonal, thank you so much. I joined just to show the respect that to the faculty, that Foxy president care about your presence, value tremendously the time you are giving to us. So, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you
Your
so much.
dedication of the whole team is amazing, must say.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And it's a really great honor to welcome Madam Sonal Fouquet. She's a seasoned psychologist and a chief people officer at Simple Work Solutions Private Limited. This is a multinational IT company. With over 20 years of diverse experience across the United States and India, Sonal brings a unique blend of expertise spanning architecture, early childhood education, and psychology. She is a clinical psychologist currently pursuing her PhD in psychology. She is a CBT and REBT certified therapist from the Albert Hills Institute in New York, as well as an International Coaching Federation, US certified leadership and executive coach. Her work centers on performance enhancement, talent management, employee retention, and personality based interventions. Alongside her corporate role, she also teaches a unique psychology blended subject for the architecture, Masters of Architecture students. This is her special area of expertise. Beyond her professional achievements, we know that she is very well connected to the to a family, to all the family members are medicos, and she very closely observes how they are stressed or they are in the high risk profession, and she's dealing with them day and night. So it's a great honor to welcome you, Sonal, and please
Thank you.
heartiest.
Thank you so much. And as the protocol, I'll be listening to both of you from the viewers link. Enjoy the dialogue with each other. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Bye,
Thank
ma'am.
you so
Thank
much.
you.
For joining.
Thank you, Sonal, and definitely would love to meet you sometimes in person. And
Likewise.
definitely we will be.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Rashmi ma'am, for the kind words.
Thank you, Sunita, ma'am. So, Sonal, ma'am,
All
great.
of you have like a special place in my heart. So it's an
Yes.
absolute honor to be here and share my 2 cents of, yeah, my thoughts and knowledge.
Great
Thank
to have you here with us, Sonal. And how are you today?
I am rocking. Fine. How about you?
Yeah, I'm also fine, very fine. So, what an interesting title we chose for the podcast, Healing the Healers and Staying Emotionally Up to Date. So, let me tell you, there are only few people who would think about the emotional well being of the doctors. And it's a great, actually, great gesture from you because I know you as a very kind and a very compassionate human being. And we have been very closely observing your work, your presence, and we know that. And it's so natural for us to understand that you will be so thinking so positively about this issue and how to keep the healers emotionally in very good condition and up to date. So I would like to know what this exactly means. What is the exact meaning of being emotionally up to date, in your opinion?
Yeah, first of all, being a mental health professional, I'm fully aware that people who provide care also need a lot of care. So, definitely, some time and energy needs to be spent on people who are giving to other people so that they keep functioning properly. So, being a mental health professional myself, I am fully aware of that, and I do take care of my own mental health, and being in this field also helps me with that. But I think that I myself have probably coined this term of being emotionally up to date. And it actually means just that. It just means that, not taking things from yesterday, bringing it into today, and then ruining our today by, something called rumination in psychology, like overthinking and, the past regrets, the past grudges, the past difficulties, emotional instabilities, whatever we have faced in the past. There has to be some deadline where we get rid of all that and become mentally present in today. And now there are so many concepts such as, mindfulness meditation and being in the present. There are so many things which are now shared very widely on all platforms such as, in LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and all these. So that is the good side of social media. Basically, the awareness creation is really good, but emotionally up to date is really just that, bringing yourself up to date to the present, like how we prepare ourselves for, say, for example, today's podcast, right? I mean, how did we prepare ourselves? So it was in our mind that this has to be done, and then we prepare ourselves, we get ready and we become up to date to present ourselves in front of the camera. So, how about doing the same thing with us individuals as persons and taking care of all the past issues slowly and bringing ourselves to the present so that we can fully concentrate on what we are doing, perform at our level best, and while doing that, because that is not a problem in your profession. In your profession, you guys are so dedicated. I mean, I have seen from such close quarters that you do that. But when that emotional baggage is there, then it becomes very difficult to take care of ourselves. And that is why remaining emotionally up to date is so important. So it just means exactly that. Being
So
up to
is this something? So is this something you are saying about the importance of being in present?
yes. Being in the present, bringing your emotional stability by working through all the instabilities that has happened in the past, any past grudges, any past difficulties, any emotionally difficult situations. So sometimes there is grief, sometimes unprocessed conflicts. So if those are resolved, then you can actually be present. Otherwise those things are always running in the back of the mind and keeps us drained of energy and reduces our joy. So while we are doing so much, we should also feel that level of joy and satisfaction. But for that, it is hard work. Like everything else, that is also hard work, which is usually not very taken cognizance of, but that needs to be worked on. And that is why people who are people who take care of their emotions and take care of their emotional stability, they are able to perform at that level and still enjoy peace, relaxation, and joy in life, which I think all of us deserve.
So this is work and not easy.
It is work, yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely, it is work. Kindly pardon my coughing and
No, it's all right.
hitch today
Absolutely.
because it's been a long time that it's there, but I'll try to take care of it.
So then actually I have seen you, and I
Hmm.
think you have been sort of an anchor to the people who surround you. I have seen, even including sometimes myself, we generally feel very good when we talk with you. And I have seen generally people coming to you, talking about their issues or problems. And I have seen you many times anchoring the emotional situations of people who surround you. So you have been doing this great work. So I think all of us carry some emotional baggage, especially the working women. They have, because if you are in a highly stressful profession like you, like me, or any working woman. So do you think they carry emotional baggage, and if they carry, how they should deal with that?
See, any situation, when we face situations, sometimes things go according to our planning. Sometimes they don't go according to our planning. Sometimes there are certain childhood issues that we have faced, so there we don't know those things, but they have created a lot of influence in our mind. So while the early age when we were growing up, so sometimes there is some kind of a trauma, sometimes there is grief, sometimes there are unresolved conflicts. For professional working women, and especially in your field, which is extremely demanding, there could be things like you not being able to pay attention to your growing up children. Sometimes there is a fork where you have to choose, I mean, between this and that. And that also creates a lot of stress. Sometimes we choose our family or personal life, sometimes we choose our profession and on as needed basis. But then that can also create a lot of guilt in us as parents. especially when something happens, when the child is, falling sick, or the child is not getting good marks, or if, the husband needs you but you are unavailable. So you keep the show on, but then that takes an emotional toll on you. So those things create the emotional baggage. And that emotional baggage actually drains a lot of energy. And first thing is that we should be able to be aware of that baggage. Unless that awareness, we can't do anything about it. We just have this sometimes sinking feeling, sometimes the heavy headedness that we have. We feel overwhelmed, and then we are all like hormonal people, so that we go through so many cycles, and we go through life stages where everything is so demanding. And I love what Indra Nooyi says, that a woman can't get it all at the same time, but everything just coincides. I mean, here you are trying to set up your career, and at the same time you are getting married. Now you are you have reached a place somewhere, and then now you have a child. And now when you are moving up the ladder in your career, the children are growing up. We are also, aging at the same time along with our partners. So no time is good time for anything, and we have to do everything at the same time, and that creates a lot of baggage. So that is the baggage that I
So
usually talk
this is so highly actually resonating with the conditions we see around, especially with the juniors who work with us, and maybe a younger version of ourselves also. We have been through these phases.
about. Yeah.
So you have very beautifully explained this issue, and but we have to tackle this effectively.
Yeah,
There has to be some
see, we have
strategy.
to first we have to tackle this, and secondly, it's not just about the dilemma between the personal and professional life. Sometimes, also during the profession, sometimes we become perfectionists. We are just
Yeah.
not able to satisfy ourselves. Like, it is very easy for Shah Rukh Khan to ask that question, have I made it large? We don't ask such nice questions to ourselves. We are full of our self doubts. Have I reached somewhere in life? That is what we ask. We don't ask, have I made it large? We ask, am I good enough? So, those are the things also. I mean, not just personal and professional, but also in while carrying out the professional duties. And especially in your profession, when it is, sometimes it's so complicated.
Yeah.
It's a question of life and death. It's a question of, saving life is in your hands. And so it's a question of self-doubt every single time. So even these things create a lot of baggage
So actually, living on the edge, it's something
living
like
on
that
the edge.
all the time.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes. So that must be causing us some amount of burnout. I'm sure about it. You will also agree about that.
See, it is burnout. Definitely it is burnout. And in the Western world, the working hours are not as bad as they have here. The system is also not as complicated or difficult for doctors as it is here, so that creates an additional burnout. Then there is compassion fatigue also, and a lot of research is also going on compassion fatigue, like what happens with the patients. We are sometimes not able to keep that near the doorstep. It comes in with us, so that is also there. So yeah, that burnout is there.
And how to remain emotionally up to date in all these situations. What should we do to combat this burnout and remain emotionally up to date?
So the first thing is to actually understand the importance of these things.
Yes.
Sometimes I feel that, our profession, mental health care profession, is slightly underestimated. There are many myths about it. Sometimes they say that, ये तो सब ज्ञान देते रहते हैं, किसको ज्ञान सुनना है? But that is not therapy. Gyan is not therapy. So, first, of course, the mental health care professional has to be a proper professional. That is one. The therapy should be like proper therapy. And the second thing is that we have to accept first that we need care. We need help. We need to prioritize our mental health. Even WHO says that, health is not just physical health. Health is mental health, physical health, the idea of well-being. And physical health and mental health, it goes hand in hand. Whenever we are physically unfit, emotionally we become very emotional. Even geriatric patients become very emotional because physically, when we are weak, we become emotionally unstable. And when we are emotionally unstable, our body also takes a toll. So it always goes hand in hand. So the first thing is to actually realize the importance of mental health and not underestimating the power of therapy, underestimating the power of counseling. See, it is as simple as that. In schools, we know sports coaches. Everybody knows sports coaches because they are needed not just to train you but also to motivate you, also to improve your game. Similarly, in mental health care also there is something called coach, and if it is a properly accredited coach, then that person will actually help you improve your performance. So when there is some disorder, anxiety issues, generalized disorder, sometimes there is depression, forget about the actual psychiatric things, but disorders. But when there is some psychological issue also going on, then you need a therapist. But
Yes.
when you are perfectly fine, we still need a coach so that we can improve our
Oh,
game. So that
yes.
there would still be certain mental blockages, there would be still some roadblocks, some distorted thinking, some self-limiting beliefs that we might be having, which should be removed, and coaches can do that. So that is why the first thing is that it should not be underestimated, and the second thing is that one should be willing to take help. I mean, doctors know, right, that there is no option than taking help. Similarly, in this case also, if somebody is feeling burnout, if somebody is feeling that I'm not happy as I should be. So when we get ready in the morning in front of the mirror, we should just pause for 2 minutes and ask ourselves this question. Do I feel well? Do I feel emotionally up to date? And then if repeatedly my answer is in negative, then probably there is no harm in actually consulting somebody, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely, very well said. And we see so many people around us going through these situations, maybe at our workplace or even in this community, actually. And we really understand that they really need help, but there is very little percentage of people taking help in this regard. So I think this
See,
what,
I'll tell you one thing. I mean, people do take help. I'll tell you how they take help. Sometimes they watch motivational videos.
yes,
Sometimes they talk to their friends or, sisters, if there are sisters, or, cousins, or whatever. And then there is a very large area of, people like Shri Ravi Shankar, people like Sadhguru, who will actually help you resolve your issues. But then there is a difference between therapy and this kind of counseling. There is a difference. And I'll tell you
yes,
exactly what the difference is. When you go for a satsang, or absolutely, those are coping mechanism, those are coping strategies which they tell you. They give you some insight because of which you start looking at things differently. And those things help. But then again, that is a slippery slope. But then if we talk about therapy, what they do is they ask you certain questions. They ask you reflective questions, and they ask you questions about which you will have to actually think about those questions and find answer for yourself. So those are all the techniques that we as therapists use. We don't give gyan, we don't tell you
yes,
stories, and we don't tell you situations and how you should behave in that particular situation. And the second thing is, we don't have our own, or we can't keep our biases. It's not important what I feel about this situation. It's not important what whether I am taking your side or not. What a friend or a cousin or a sister will do. They will try to understand your viewpoint, and then they'll tell you what you want to listen. But that
Yes.
might not solve your internal conflict. That might
There
not
can be
resolve.
bias also
Obviously, there will be bias because they are looking at your situation through their lens, right?
through their
And
lenses.
I would
Yes.
say that a psychologist has a very clean and clear lens without any biases because we are trained for that. Because we are not supposed to, even if personally I'm not accepting whatever you are doing, I'm not supposed to actually give you guidance based on that because I am not important here. I have to be there as a listener, and then there is a whole lot of techniques of how you listen and how you respond, and then trying to be very, very comfortable in the pauses. When you ask a question, you have to give time for them to actually answer.
Yes.
There is so much of
Absolutely.
compulsion that I ask a question and I see that this person is now struggling to give an answer because now they are thinking. But that is the moment where actually, things change and people start thinking about themselves. And you have to be comfortable in those pauses and then wait for that answer and then, take it from there. So it's actually a full process. And that is why taking help is very important.
Absolutely. And sometimes even people must be coming you at later stages also with
Yeah, yeah,
the advanced issues because they do not realize where they slipped up. So there must be some signs or some symptoms. Like people should identify that they need help, or somebody should identify that they need help. How to identify such situations?
See, one very simple question is you have to really ask yourself whether you feel joy in little things of life or not. That is the first question that you have to. Are you happy enough? Are there any issues that you feel are actually bringing a lot of burden on your thought process? Is your mind taking you back on on a repeat mode on some particular problem and you're not able to find an answer to that problem? So that is when one can easily approach a coach. But then again, like any other field, like today I know that there was some protest by IMA that the 6 month.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, there was some protest, right? So similarly, there are unprofessional professionals everywhere. So, but as long as you find out the right one, then it's always a good idea to share things.
And therein lies the importance of communication. What do you say about this?
See, it's very sad that as far as communication is concerned, we have just as a society, we have just reduced it to what kind of language we use. I mean, how my English is, how I'm able to, articulate
Impress a
how my
crowd, impress a
articulation
crowd.
is, how I'm able to convey my thoughts. And so communication is just reduced to that. And in spite of the fact that we cannot do without communication, uh, I mean, since childhood, we have to get things done. We have to communicate uh, till becoming very successful. I mean, till the end of our life, we will be communicating with people. We will be collaborating with people. Still, we have so many subjects in schools and colleges, but there is no subject on communication. And when it comes to communication, people only talk about good English, whether they are confident in it
Yes.
or not.
Are
Uh,
they able to impress the crowd in front of them?
exactly. So, but then how the communication actually starts with the first thing is listening. So, how the communication begins? It begins in listening, it begins in holding space for the other person. It is about not giving any opinion, just listening. And then saying relevant things. Say, for example, I mean, it might be too naive for this crowd, but I don't still mind sharing it. Like sometimes we just casually say if somebody's, father has passed away, we just to show that I am so compassionate with you, we say that I understand your pain. I mean, that's too strong a word. We can't. Of course, we can't. Every time the situation, then what do we do? Then how do we communicate? So it's just being present at that time, like fully present at that time. So communication is so much more than just expressing your thought process. It goes so much way deeper. But then, as I said, it's not actually given that much of importance.
I think it's a great science actually. And
Yeah.
I think it's something it should be taught from the childhood, and it should be a subject actually. Do you also think so?
100%. It should be there because, and then I think things are still changing. Things are changing. Um, People are, so that is another thing. People are now getting better at actually listening to what the other person wants to say. So earlier it was like, ऐसा नहीं सोचना है, ऐसा नहीं करना है, इस तरह से नहीं सोचते हैं. But nowadays we are still, giving our children, other people, more a space to actually think about what they, I mean, the next generation is like, they need that. Otherwise, the communication disrupts. So we are
We are
getting
in a
better at
process. Yes, we are in a process of transformation, maybe.
it. We are, yeah, we are. But there is still, I think, a long way to go.
But still we are lacking a lot in this area.
Yeah.
And so doctors will have high stress, they will have burnout, and they should also seek help if they need. So how to identify, or how they should seek help? What should they do to keep their emotional IQ up to date in high risk situations? Like,
See, sometimes what happens is that people feel that at this age, I should be able to obviously sort my own problems.
yeah,
We have that expectation from ourselves that
yeah,
I should be
actually,
able to solve these problems. Of course, you will be able to solve those problems. There is no question about it. But there is no harm in taking a third person's opinion. There is no harm in brainstorming with people. As doctors, you already know that getting help is it shouldn't be a, so the stigma around mental health is so much. It is still getting better, but you don't have to have like serious mental disorders to actually take help from people. So the readiness to get help, and then just become aware of what you're going through. Are you able to perform at your best? If you're able to perform at your best, you're already working on your own mental health, because we are human beings and we will have emotional issues, right? But and we should be aware of whether we are able to solve our emotional issues or it is getting overwhelming. If it is getting overwhelming, there is no need to think too much. Now, all these, see, I don't know how it is at your medical associations, but you already have a department of psychiatry and all of
yeah.
that. But nowadays, in companies, like I work for a IT company, so we do have mental health professionals right there, and it is a task to actually find out whether somebody is having an emotional issue by just having a conversation with them. So what I do in my company, as I have conversation with people, and then I try to identify if that person needs any help. And when does that happen? When there are life-changing events. We all know, a second child coming in, the first child will have sibling jealousy. It's such a normal phenomena.
It's a normal thing.
It's such a normal thing. Then we already know what postpartum depression is.
Yes.
We move our homes to different areas. Sometimes there is a death in the family. Sometimes there are tragedies in the family. Sometimes there is a job change. Sometimes the father is getting retired, and now this young son is now feeling like he's 100% responsible to carry, the at the home front.
Burden of the family. Yeah.
That creates so much of burden, and that creates so much of load on that individual. So these are the things that we try to identify in our company. This is what we do. But you as a society can also maybe take some initiatives within your profession and try to identify if somebody is having any problem, or hire mental health professionals for that, so that they are able to identify if there are any, things going on. And that is the right time to, so see, there are separations, there are divorces, there are so many things that keep happening. And people do take help now, but then there are still people who feel that, I can handle it all. But there are professionals, you can take help, so why not? That's what I feel.
So then I would like to know, just for our, all viewers, so what are those simple steps we can take to remain emotionally healthy, like on day-to-day basis? Maybe I would like to ask you if there is any role of exercise or meditation, something like that. You know,
Hmm.
what
See,
we can do on a
we
daily
as
basis.
we as
Some
individuals,
simple things.
yeah, we as individuals, we have personalities at different levels, right? We have a physical personality, we have an intellectual personality, we have an emotional personality, we have spiritual personality. So at all these levels, we have to ask ourselves if whether we are integrated at all levels, whether, and creating that balance basically. So if we feel that, I think I'm overthinking about something, and I am convinced that I can't agree to what this person is saying, but emotionally I feel so weak that I can't say no. And then because I can't say no, I say yes and then blame myself again. So these are the cycles that we get into many times. And then we have to step back and become aware of how my thought process usually is and strategize. If somebody, so I always my clients, and this is my favorite topic, that saying no can never be a unidimensional decision. Saying no is always a two-dimensional decision, because when you are saying no to something, you are saying yes to something. And when you say that
Yeah,
I can't say no to this person, which means you are saying yes to that person, which means that you
this
are
is so
saying no to
profound.
something
This
else.
is so profound. Yes, this is very profound. Can you elaborate more on this?
Yeah, so say for example, I have to take care of my child at home, and I have decided that this is what I am going to do. And then suddenly, I'm not talking about, professional commitments and duties. I'm not talking about that, but optional things, right? Optional things. When we just out of pressure, we can't say no to people. We can't say no to certain circumstances. And because it is uneasy to say no at that time, we take a decision and we do that. But then at the same time, I know that this is what I should have done for my child, or this is what I should have done for my family, or this is what I should have done. Sometimes there are optional things like, going somewhere, and then there is a dilemma. And then just because we can't say no, we have not created our own boundaries, and we are not convinced enough that it's okay to say no. We take those decisions. But then somewhere it builds up that baggage. So there was a mother when so I don't know if you know, I was running a preschool for 11 years in Nagpur. And it was actually a chain of preschools, and I used to interact with so many mothers at that time. And that is some area which I would like to touch here. So there was this mother who was a general manager at a very big bank in Nagpur. And she used to open the bank, and then she also had to close the bank. So she had to be out of the house from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Once she came to pick her child, because her child was at my daycare. And then I just said something that, what's going on at home? I mean, because he is showing some different behavior. And she just burst out crying. And I asked, like, what happened? I mean, you can share what happened. And then she said that my father in law actually scolds my son too much. And then when I go home from here, I am away from him for the whole day and I can't discipline him. I can't tell him, don't do this, don't do that, don't watch TV, don't look at mobile. I just can't say no to that child because I have been away from that child for such a long time. Now I can't scold the child. And that is why I am always being very lenient and flexible with the child. And my father in law sees that and he just starts bashing my child. So I feel so bad about it. And and then I just asked her, why do you feel so guilty? And then there was a pause, and she's like, because I am not able to spend the time that he deserves with him. And I'm like, so have you tried to have a conversation with him? It doesn't matter if the child is just 2 years old. It doesn't matter. But have you tried to have a conversation with the child? Have you tried to tell the child that, I'm working and this is the kind of hard work that I'm doing? And we can't underestimate our children. I mean, they're very, and this generation, I mean, they are super smart. They understand
Yeah,
everything.
very. Agree.
So you telling the child that this is what you're doing and you're doing it for the family and you're doing it so that you can provide the child better. First, are you yourself convinced that you're doing a big job? And then once you come home, now it is your responsibility as a mother. So if at home you talk to your child like a guest, that is going to create more problems rather than you trying to discipline the child. You start disciplining the child, and your father in law will start behaving like a grandfather. Why don't you try this? Let's try it for a week and see how it goes. You do the needful. You be firm about saying no to certain things because you are the mother. And that guilt is a negative emotion that you're having, and you're going home with that negative emotion. That is going to cause problems, right? So, because you're already doing so much of hard work, you're doing it for the child, you have to keep your life, so much in order, in discipline. You're doing so many things. Yeah, agreed that you're not able to spend that much of time. But then it doesn't have to be loaded with guilt.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be loaded with guilt. People go on People go on war, people go outstation, people do what they need to do. But then at home, you have to play your role as a mother. And I'm sure there are so many great women in this group that are already doing it. But just in case you have that guilt in you, a little bit of guilt that you might have in you. So there is no need for that guilt. And that if there is a little bit of guilt, then you have to think about how you can balance it. What personally I believe is that our children should be in our mind space. If we are at work, our children should be there in our mind space, not in terms of focusing them, but like the child is going to come home. So, what am I going to do after that? A little bit of planning before going home. What happens is we go home and then suddenly they are with us and then we don't know what to do and then time just goes away. So a little bit of planning in that area, and also taking care of a little bit of our own hobbies. And then when I say that, I don't mean that you have to spend like these many number of hours every day doing it. It could be once a week, it could be twice a week. We all know our beloved Mangala Kisad madam. We should take inspiration from her. I can't stop looking at her rangolis, the way she does it. But give channelizing our energies into some hobbies, cultivating new hobbies, um, all of these things, and
Yeah.
I'm
Doing
sure
things
you
with
guys do
you.
it
Yeah.
already.
Yeah. This
So
is
that's the
going to be
way.
helpful. And this is going to be so helpful for all the young mothers. We see them juggling between the family life and the children, actually. And
Yeah, and sometimes I also feel that whenever there is too much of dilemma, so there was another parent who was a gynecologist, and her child was very small, 1.5 years old at that time. And she was almost, trying to argue with me, and she was telling me that she needs to go to this conference. And I was like, then you should go. I mean, you need to go to the conference, you should go. But at the same time, she was getting too much pulled down by the weight of, the guilt that, you know, then what do I do with my daughter? And then it'll be. And I was like, then if you feel so bad about it, rather than feeling guilty, try to find a midway about it. Try to see if you can do the conference next year, maybe the year after that, because children will not need you so much after a few years, and this is especially for the young mothers.
Yeah, absolutely.
They will not need you after 5 6 years. I mean, so it's just a matter of, so it's not like everything is slipping from your hands like sand, but their childhood is definitely not coming back, that is for sure. So if it means, putting it off for some time, if your time demand is so much that this is an additional thing, you can do it later. So rather than just getting sucked into the guilt and then, all these things, it's better to find, some midway, and I'm sure they all do it, but doing it with more awareness is what then it helps uh, keep ourselves up to date. Then there is no guilt. Shouldn't be guilt.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a very delicate balance, and I think
Yeah.
one has to decide for that person only. Then how, when to go, when to stop, where to stop, what should be prioritized, and how to plan and be in presence. So
So,
beside
and
this,
as you rightly said, I mean, there has to be, certain routine for the physical health. There has to be certain routine for mental health. There has to be certain routine for intellectual health. And when I say emotionally up to date, in some way, I am talking about the spiritual health. That, whether you are able to be in the present. I mean, what kind of meditation will be suitable? What kind of exercises would be suitable? And then it's sad sometimes that nowadays, in the context of body shaming, people are actually not trying to look at the real problem and resolve the real issues. And rather than that, they just try to justify that, whatever is, it's okay. But that is just, we can't put things under the rug all the time. Those need to be resolved, those needs to be confronted. And that
we
is
need to
one
take
way
care
to
of all those
become
things
emotionally
also.
up to date.
Yes, absolutely.
That's one way of bringing yourself to the present today.
And when there is such a great dilemma, sometimes I think, as we had also discussed before starting of the podcast, some upadeshas from the Bhagavad Gita also can help us. Like, because it was told in the time of dilemma only.
See, it's such an amazing text that we have. And it was narrated in the middle of the chaos, right? It was narrated right in the middle of the battlefield. During, I mean, just the war is about to begin. Anybody will say that, is this the time to talk about all these things? I mean, this conversation, actually, they say that it actually happened. Like, is this the time for this conversation? But then, in the middle of the chaos, is the right time for thinking about mental health. That is exactly when you will be able to, perform at your best. When we address those issues, when we address those dilemmas, when we become aware of our options, that is exactly when we will try to find answers to those problems. So,
Absolutely.
according to me, Bhagavad Gita gives a lot of insight into the behavioral science, and human being has not changed, right? I mean, human being still is that vulnerable, very soft at the core, very different when you have a heart-to-heart conversation, very different when you talk to them in crowd. It's so different. So these things have not changed. And so those, so yeah, so I would definitely suggest, if you're interested, you can actually read the chapters and see how the dilemmas are addressed and how you can actually find solutions to our problems in a very healthy way.
Such wonderful talking with you, and this discussion can go go on and on, but we have some time limits also. And what I understood from our conversation, please correct me wherever I'm wrong. Like we should prioritize ourselves. We should also make a mental health care routine in our day, whole day. We should cultivate some hobby or something that would we seek happiness into. And what would you like to add in this, Sunil?
Become aware of our own thought processes, become aware whether there are any negative emotions. So ask a few why questions. Why is it coming in my mind like this? What are the other alternatives of looking at it? I mean, these are the things which we usually cover in, the therapy communications. Like, is this the only way of looking at it? Or is there any other way of looking at it? So just trying to broaden our perspectives. Like, so if you have, some, you know, ideal person in front of you, or where is to someone who actually you look up to that person, you can ask yourself, how would this person actually address this situation? So how can I so this is a problem. There can't be just one solution. And we also have to understand that situation being exactly the same,
Hmm?
different people will have different opinions and different thoughts around it. For example, there is a class of 50 students, and all 50 students have scored 10 marks out of 100. The situation is exactly the same. But will each student think in the same way? One will think that I didn't have a good teacher, the another one will think that I am not, cut out for this subject. The third person would say that, my dad put me in the wrong school. Somebody would say that I should be a dropout like Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates. Some would say that,
I will study more and make uh, gain more marks in next exam. Maybe like that.
somebody will say that, I can't accept these marks. I'll show it that I can do better. So 50 people can think in 50 different ways. So any problem is presented to us, any dilemma that is presented to us, or any guilt that we are harnessing, or any grudges that we are holding, we can always ask ourselves, right, that what is a different way of looking at this?
Oh, that is so important. So choosing or thinking about what is the different or alternative way of looking at a situation. And the second important, very profound point was to be able to say no.
Yeah, it's very inconvenient to say no. But then if we have like full realization that when I'm saying no to something, it means that I'm saying yes to something. And
Yes,
when I'm saying yes to something, it means that I'm saying no to something, whether I like it or not. That's what is happening. So then we can't fool ourselves. I mean, this is exactly what is happening. So now I have to choose what to say no to and what to say yes to.
absolutely. So it was so nice talking with you, as usual, I would like to say. And I think we should do one more episode, and I would like to explore more things about this aspect from you, maybe
Sure.
sometime
It's a
in
pleasure.
future.
It's a pleasure.
And it was a great privilege to have you with us. And thank you so much for joining. And
Thanks for
great,
calling me.
great
It was such a wonderful conversation.
thank you so much. We'd like to meet you again.
Thank you.
Have a nice time and good night. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rohit, if you are there.